Back on MorningLine, final segment with our fine guest, Jeff Syracuse, Metro Council person, non-smoker, not a fan of smoking in bars and restaurants.
For sure.
He's got the ordinance, second reading tonight, that'll ban it across the board. Not just restaurants, but bars 21 and over, and that's what we're talking about this morning. Jamie Kent, an advocate behind this, who has a lot to do with why it's even come to this point as a musician, lobbying state lawmakers and all this. We touched a bit on it. He's a non-smoker too, suffers from asthma. Sings, performs, has been doing so for a lot of years. And yeah, to me, just this being Music City, this is where something like this should pass, because people like him are a natural resource for us here. And just how bad did it get? And talk about some of your fellow musicians, maybe who don't smoke, but what the secondary smoke has done to them over the years, because it really seems to part of the culture. I think of smoky bars, smoky dark bars where you hear a band jamming.
Yeah, and I think, that, like we said earlier, the culture has shifted over the last, 20, 30 years. When I first started touring, it was way worse, and, a lot of our advocacy has gotten things less and less here. But you're right. I've toured with classic musicians who I won't name, but have spoken to the fact of, playing in all the venues and bars were smoke filled, and they're like, I got a permanent gravel in my voice now because of it.
They don't smoke. It's just years after years of doing it. So when you've gone into a really crowded smoky bar, and I don't know, what's a typical set for you? Is it like an hour out?
Well, generally in the smoky bars, it's like 3 hours.
Okay.
So that's again, the harder part is usually the bar gigs are long gigs, so halfway through your voice is toast.
So yeah, so literally when you're done, or if it's toast, what's it like? What would your routine be after a show like that? First of all, you walk out of the place, what do you smell like?
Yeah, like an ashtray.
Yeah, all your clothes has to go to a dry cleaner or wash, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's difficult to do that, on the road too. And so think about other musicians that are coming through Tennessee as well. I had a musician come up to me at a festival from New York recently, thanking me for what we're doing here in Tennessee, because she has battled breast cancer, and she's like, I can't perform in these places, and there's a bunch of them that I really want to play in, and I just can't wait for this to change. And so, I didn't even think about that, but people outside that are coming through as well. Nashville is Music City. We are a leader in so many ways, so it just seems like this is a great way that we can also lead the way in the state.
Absolutely. All right, so a lot of people sometimes ask when these things pass about enforcement. You touched on it a little bit earlier. If this passes, which you would think it's on the path toward becoming reality, correct?
I feel strongly that
okay, and I think most people, based on our discussion today, we haven't had a lot of people opposing it necessarily. Right. So how will it play out? I'm wondering, enforcement with restaurants and stuff, this doesn't seem too difficult, because what will happen is if there's one that's not abiding by it, either patrons or the musicians can call and say, listen, this bar I was at last night and they're not doing it. How will it work? And you said it too at the outset, you're not looking to have the health department go out and citing places, but it would be citations.
Sure, absolutely. The health department is the department that would enforce this. Like I said, the implementation date has been going to be pushed out to March 1. Okay. So it does give some time for places to maybe, like I said, build a little overhang if it's for customers to go outside, have a cigarette, go back in, because at the end of the day, it's about the atmosphere of the inside. We're protecting our hospitality workers, we're protecting our musicians on the inside of the place. And so I don't think it's a lot to ask for somebody to step outside for a moment, have a cigarette, and come back in.
Yeah, now some of these places that for years have allowed smoking, are going to, I guess if this passes, have to post signage. Or they're going to have to let people know one way or the other, right? Say, hey guys, and there are probably going to be some regulars there. Right. It's just the way it's going to be. But there'll be signage posted up there, and they're going to have to explain it to their...
Absolutely. And like we said, there's a collective aspect of helping and protecting each other. And ultimately, that does translate to economic impact to the city and the state as well. So I think what we're doing is supporting ourselves as a city and the success of us being Music City. I've been in this business 25 years now. Yeah. I cannot tell you how many musician friends have come back at 2, 3 a.m. from a gig and just gone, oh, if it wasn't for that smoke, that gig would have been wonderful. Yeah. It's very difficult. Yeah. The Visitor and Convention Bureau, what does Butch think? Butch Bearded. Have you talked to him about it at all? Supportive.
Okay. Yeah, I would think he is. I mean, he's down to earth, and if he feels that, again, his balance is always too, what does it mean for the community and the downtown and the money? Do you think if this passes, it can be something that Music City will promote? I don't know. I wonder if like Austin has a promotion. Yeah, come and hear our music. It's all smoke free. I don't know. Could that be a selling point?
I think it could be. I think from a broader perspective, there's a number of things that we need to do to protect the ecosystem of music here in the city, and that is protecting our working creatives in the city. And this is one of the things that we can absolutely do to ensure the sustainability and resilience of our musicians to be successful here.
And you're convinced, you have absolutely no doubt this is not going to cause bars to close down or somewhere the business just tanks.
Like I said, with just a little bit of creative marketing, welcome new patrons, because they will come.
Yeah, because you think most of the big concerts that we go to, smoking's not allowed at those venues for the big artists. Obviously in Bridgestone you're not, and a lot of these places you can't. Is it really pretty much just the bar scene where the smoking's allowed?
Yeah, pretty much. Although ironically, right at the beginning of our coalition, Nissan Stadium signed on, joined our coalition, and we helped them go smoke free because they had smoking section. And so even at some of the up until recently, those existed, and we were honored to help with that and provide educational materials and provide support afterwards. Because
what was their thinking when they came to you? They thought, we just want to do this again. I mean, it's athletics are played there.
Yeah, the time is right. Right. Yeah, exactly. A lot of folks, and we found this from a bunch of bar owners too. They're like, we've been wanting to do this for years, but we didn't want to be the bad guys necessarily. And so a level playing field benefits everybody, because now it's not like you just go into that one place that still allows it. Everyone goes together, and now people just continue to support their favorite bar.
That's interesting. Okay, so it's possible then some of these folks wanted to do it, but they didn't want to alienate some of their clientele. You've just let them off the hook.
I took a couple of those calls as well, and so I said, I'm happy to take the arrows.
Is that what they're kind of saying, like deep down? Yeah, we would like to have done this, but we have too many regulars, and if I do this on my own, they're going to say, what, you're just choosing to do this and come after me?
Sure.
This gives them the opportunity to do it without...
Absolutely.
With cover.
Absolutely, and I'm happy to provide that cover. And at the end of the day, like I said, this is protecting their business, their workers, and the folks that bring customers in to make them successful.
I think we've made the case today. So what's your next gig? What are you going to do? Will this allow you to start going to some of these venues that you've said no to in the past?
Absolutely. I can't wait to go and support them.
So really, how much of a financial burden would that be when you had to say no sometimes because you were worried about health?
It's so hard to say looking back, but it was always a really difficult decision to make. I, for a while, made the decision for the paycheck, and then eventually was like, no, I need to make the decision for my health. And I'm raising a family.
Right, it's a balance.
Right. And so, you're always making those decisions, and they're difficult decisions, but it would be great for folks to not have to make those decisions. And what Councilmember Syracuse talked about, too, about supporting our overall creative ecosystem here, I think that's sort of next year, and something that we both are very passionate about, and realizing that the pandemic kind of shone a light on that. We have the highest concentration of musicians in Tennessee in the country. But our support systems for them are minimal, and if we want to keep it that way, as our city keeps growing, we need to find ways to support and protect them. And this is one of those ways, hopefully the first of many.
Let's take one more call before we wrap things up. Matt, good morning. Hi, Matt.
Hey, good morning.
Morning. What's up, man?
What about hookah bars?
Okay, yeah, we touched a bit on that. Is that your only question, or we'll answer that for you? But what about hookah bars? Yeah, go ahead. Are you there?
And are we talking about just a handful of bars that are scattered around Nashville? I didn't think anything on Broadway, downtown area, even allowed smoking anymore.
Okay, good. I gotta be honest with you, I don't know, what's the situation, how many downtown on Broadway, to your knowledge, allow smoking?
A lot of the Broadway ones chose to allow I think families in during the day, so you have to be 21 and up like 24 hours a day in order to qualify for smoking, so that's when a lot of that changed there.
Okay.
But there are a handful downtown still.
That are 21 and over all the time. Okay. Maybe not as many, but I hear you talking, Matt. Maybe not as many. Now, just for him, we touched on hookah bars. Again, that's an exception to the rule, right?
Sure. Part of my proposed amendment for tonight does carve out the hookahs bars that are more of cultural institutions, and this wasn't intended for them, so I do have an amendment to to carve them out. And from his last point there, he's correct that there are a few. There are a smaller number that this bill actually impacts. I think roughly 20 or so in the whole county.
Yeah, so really it's about 20 in the whole county.
Or so, roughly around there.
So, I mean, it was probably, if you didn't pass something like this, slowly but surely they were maybe going in that direction anyway.
Sure.
So is this, it's important. I don't know how many of those 20 are major venues for musicians, but is it, in your mind, then, is it, I guess it affects them, but is it more symbolic, kind of like we're going this path and we're sending a message, we want to try to protect them? I mean, if it's just 20?
Perhaps so, but I hope that these places have the opportunity now to hire musicians that wouldn't come in
the
otherwise.
Past, so it would open it for them.
So it does provide them opportunities for additional revenue generation, if you will, right? There's clientele that won't come to those places to hear music because of the smoking. And so now if they go non-smoking, hopefully they will hire a musician.
Right.
And that'll bring people in that they didn't see before. So like I said, with just a little bit of creative marketing, this is a pro-business bill.
What would your creative marketing sign say?
Come join us. Come check this place out that has been in Nashville for so long, but you hadn't had the opportunity to come in.
Yeah, if you have
now
asthma,
you
no
can.
problem.
Right.
I like that one. Asthma, no problem.
That's right.
Come on in. It's not going to be smoky. You don't have to worry about stinky clothes later.
I think a lot of people that whether they live here or that they visit Nashville, what they want that kind of that authentic Nashville experience. Now they're going to be able to get it
At more places.
Because
they're not coming here to
protects
smoke.
their health. That's exactly right.
They're coming here to see the music, and that's ultimately. Again, tonight's second reading. How will it go from there? If it passes tonight, is it next Tuesday or?
And in 2 weeks, it'll be on third and final reading, and that should hopefully just.
It's got the support, and then if it passes there again, you see it taking effect.
March 1 of 2023. So it gives these places time. To figure out.
And then there'll be a transition there. It's not like on the first day of that.
Exactly.
Health department's going to be out giving.
No.
By the way, I wonder, curious, just what are the citations for something that's like $50?
Right.
But if you repeatedly do it, it gets the attention,
that
and
would
they
add
can
up.
come after you or something along those lines.
Right.
Any final thoughts? You just glad it's happening?
Just really glad it's happening, and I just really appreciate Councilmember Syracuse's leadership and support of our music community. It means a lot, and here's to getting really close to a smoke-free Nashville.
Yeah, it's got to be pretty satisfying for you that it started at the state level, now it's coming here to Nashville, which is where it really should happen first.
Amen.
Yeah.
And then you think Memphis, have you heard from them? I mean, do you think they're looking at it?
I hope so. I hope they're all the cities where
There's some of those
music
smoky jazz bars. And
we've
go
got
from there.
musicians across the state that have been talking about it. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Guys, thanks both for coming on.
Thank you.
Really appreciate
Thank
it.
you so much.
Walked us through all that, and I think it's a big change. I thought it was a big change in 2007
Right.
when they got that out of the restaurants, in general.
Yeah.
It was big, and I liked it at the time, not being a smoker. This will be a good thing, I think, especially for folks like you. Thanks again, both of you,
Thank
for
you.
coming on.
Really appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Thanks, Nick.
Pleasure. Take a break. I'll be back with the programming note about tomorrow right after this. Everyone, stay with us.